Analytics is used by financial advisors primarily for fund research and portfolio analysis, but there's a huge amount of value tucked up under this little Indices tab that provides you with data for maybe your blog post, maybe a social media post, maybe you're seeing a client this afternoon that you want to talk about something topical across the industry. There is always something within that Indices tab that will make your life slightly easier to be able to create that content, to bring it to life. So I've got a few examples I just want to run through here. Up under market indices, there are literally thousands of different indices on there. Now, clearly the quickest way of finding an index is just typing in a name or code. The first one we're going to look at, though, is national statistics. You've got loads of different statistics in here that you can play around with. And at the very top here, you've got weekly earnings. Now, something topical at the moment, of course, is the cost of living crisis. So you can chart the weekly average earnings, private sector, public sector, whole economy, against the various different inflation rates. So I've got CPI, RPI, CPIH, etc. Again, quite a subjective topic, so it's entirely up to you when you're creating this content, which one of those you want to use. But over on the right-hand side, I'm just going to create a very simple one-year line chart. Give that a couple of seconds, and it will show me, hopefully, as we're fully aware, how much inflation is ravaging our earnings at the moment and failing. Our earnings are failing across the board to keep up with inflation. Come back to the main screen, you can create lists on analytics. So if there are, this doesn't just necessarily apply to indices, but if there's like a group of funds, maybe an investment panel, or in this case even a group of indices that you look at on a regular basis, you don't want to have to keep on reselecting. You click on open on the main screen here. I've got 4 lists set up for myself, but very quickly I can flip between my second list I want to talk about and give it a couple of seconds, and hey presto, it appears. Second one I want to talk about is gold. This comes up quite a bit. People want to track the performance of gold. You might be talking to clients. You might have seen something in the paper about the gold price coming up or going down, and clients starting to question whether they should be selling their jewellery for the highest cost at the moment. So you can very quickly compare the historic cost of gold versus different investments. Now, I've pulled up the mixed investment indices, or sectors. That'll go back to the late 80s. The gold bullion price will go back to the late 80s as well. So I'm just going to go and create a chart, start of data, click on generate, and you can now track the historic performance of gold versus, expand that, versus different investments. Come back to the main screen. You don't have to use charts either, of course. I'm just using a line chart, but you can play around with other different types of charts, scatter charts, regular savings, regular withdrawals. Again, analytics is a bit of a design tool. You're the creator, you decide exactly what it is you want to get off the system. Third list, I'm just going to quickly cover off, is this one. This is all the different house price indices. So if you go back up under the National Statistics tab, the official HPI indices are stitched on here as well. So this is the average increase or decrease of property prices across the UK, all the different regions. And as you can see, whether you're looking at an index, a fund, a sector, a portfolio, there's always a date at the very end of it, which signifies how far that data will go back. So in this case, I'll just try and push this back as far as I can. Just go back to the late 60s. Now I can show the house prices against one another of all the different regions. And again, not exclusive just to house prices. You might want to compare that against the FTSE 100. You might want to compare that against different asset classes, etc. You might want to throw RPI in there as well as a bit of context. So that's quite useful. And just finally, if I open up my 4th example, talking of different asset classes, I've got this. So these are the different asset classes against one another. And again, it's not an exclusive list, so clearly you can add as many as you like. But Bank of England base rate, I could use that to reflect cash. We have actually got Bank of England base rate +1, +2, +3, +4%. Same with RPIs, same with CPI as well. So again, up to you which one of those you select. But I'm using that to represent cash. I've got a gilt index in there. I've got the MSCI World Index, pretty useful and popular to track world stock prices. S&P 500 for US. Could throw in the FTSE as well for UK, CPI and HPI indices for England, and again click on go. And again, if you're trying to talk to clients about managing risk, diversification and investing in all the different asset classes, you can create content around that over different periods of time. I'm just trying to push this back as far as the data will go, but you could start messing around with lots of different periods of time to kind of explain how maybe the riskier asset classes may not prove particularly beneficial over the short term, but the longer the periods, the better it is to be invested in those riskier assets. So I hope you found that useful. As I keep saying, you're the designer when you're on here, so when you are talking to clients about something that is particularly topical at the moment, be sure there will probably be something on analytics that can represent that within some sort of output. So go to the Market Indices tab or Sector tab and start playing around with that data. As ever, any questions, under Contact Us, you'll find the details for our help desk.